The United States is experiencing youth mental health crisis, a big crisis. According to a new study by the Centers for Disease Control, persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness are at the highest levels ever recorded for teens. Jess Weiner, host of podcast Dominant Stories, is here to break down how we can all help. Jess, good morning to you. Always great to have you.
Good morning, Melvin.
Gosh, Jess, so this teenage generation is growing up in unprecedented times. So how can families help to put mental health at the forefront?
Indeed. And I think we have to remember too and honor the fact that their parents and their families are also growing up in unprecedented times. So everybody is in a new normal. And unfortunately, as you mentioned at the top, this new normal is showing us that 99% of Gen Z, so that's really our 12 to 25-year-olds, our middle school, high school, college kids, they are telling us that their mental health takes precedent over everything, Melvin, their physical health, their career goals, their education. So here's why it's really important, I think, for families to pay attention to this. And that's maybe my first tip, which is be aware and be open-minded. There are still so many communities and so many families, as you know, where there's still a lot of stigma around talking about mental health issues. And I think it's really important that whether this is something you're familiar with as a parent or an educator, or, whether this is something new for you, to really recognize verbal and nonverbal cues, mood changes, behavioral changes, and don't just chalk it up to being a teenager. Yes, teenagers have mood swings, but mental health crises show up in a lot of the same ways that we think teenagers are supposed to be acting, but it's much more serious than that. So we need the adults in their lives to really now pay attention more than ever.
Absolutely. I mean, there's such a value to paying attention and to listening. Listening is not passive. Listening is an active behavioral process. I mean, why do you think, every aspect of teen mental health has been declining since 2009? They're saying.
Yeah, and that's a great point. This is happening well before the pandemic. And I think a lot of that we're looking at the intersection between social media and mental health. It's very easy for us, those of us who grew up in the generation without social media embedded in our lives, to kind of pass judgment on it. But I think we have to remember that our young people growing up now as digital natives are surrounded 24/7, not just with images of what they should look like and be like, but with news and with triggers and with comparisons. And so the influx of information, I think, over time has both sped up the addictive nature of our young people to technology, but also, I think, living outside of themselves, living in a future state, living in videos, pictures, other people's lives.
Sure.
So a lot of this, I think, is about integrating back into a life that has some play, some joy. We talked about choosing joy in uncertain times, but we know from research that choosing play activities, being in nature, it actually grows empathy and compassion, which are important antidotes to some of the mental health crises we're seeing.
Absolutely. And another key thing too here, Jess, is patience.
Yeah.
Being patient with yourself, and also patient with your kids or your loved ones.
Yeah, as somebody myself who struggles with mental health issues, and as I've learned to be more compassionate and graceful with myself, I want to tell the parents, educators, mentors out there, this doesn't get resolved overnight. As we know, this can sometimes be a long-lived journey for folks. So being patient about the process is important. And I really want to emphasize, Melvin, going to get professional help, that we don't have to do this by ourselves. We don't have to feel stigmatized or alone. I think that's the hard part with us still, even though we're back in school and mandates seem to be getting lifted, it doesn't mean we're returning to a normal we recognize. We're still fairly isolated. And when you have mental health challenges, that can feel exacerbated. So have patience with yourself if you're experiencing this. But for those who are watching their loved ones and their kids experience this, recognize that you can get help for it and you don't have to struggle alone.
Absolutely. Jess Weiner, thank you so much as always for being with us and for all of your keen insights to help us move about the world more peacefully and more conscious. You can hear more from her on her podcast, Dominant Stories. It's a really great listen. She's such a gift for our show. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us. This is Your Morning on Spectrum News 1.